in this competition is already a world champion.
Symmetry is an encompassing package. It encompasses.
So, let's see. Ryan and Ian are not going to join us tonight. I know Ian's not feeling well, so hopefully he feels better.
Yeah, hope so. Wish him my best.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So real quick, what was it, Phil? About 30 minutes after last week's show, you texted me.
Right.
About Chris Dickerson passing away.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys want to talk about him real quick before we get started. And then
I'll mention him. I met Chris the first time I met Chris was probably in '82. He was training at Gold's. I was training with Samir and Ali Mala. And we started talking, and he invited me to his flat, which was in Venice. And from there, he started helping me prepare, in a sense, for the Amateur Grand Prix, which was coming up, in the USA Championships, which was a week later. And he just basically talked to me about diet, posing a little bit, just gave me some ideas on what to do and some other things with diet, nutrition, things like that. We became good friends.
Wow.
Now, I don't know, Steve, you might remember a guy from Canada who was a middleweight Mr. Universe competitor, Doug, what was his last name?
Black guy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I and Chris used to go out and have coffee together, have lunch together. Doug.
Oh, and what's his last name? Phil? Damn. Trying to think of his last name.
So am I.
That's yeah. I met Chris a couple times. Awesome. What a great personality. Took me in right away, man. We had some great conversations a few times that we met. Was a great individual, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Did he win Olympia before or after Samir? Was it before?
He won it in '82.
Okay.
The year before.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think he was, where I read somewhere, he was the oldest to win at the time.
42 at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who was Sean? Was the second one after that?
No, Sean broke his record at 43.
Okay. All right, cool. How old was Dexter when he won?
That was because he won in 08.
08,
I think
right?
he was still pretty young because he's a couple years. I think he's a couple years old. I mean, yeah, I don't, he wasn't terrible. He was. I think he was in his late 30s.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and Chris also did the what would you call it? The MC. He was the MC for the Universe the year I was in it. Now he wasn't there. They did it afterwards, if you know what I'm saying. They looked at it and then they spoke on the Universe, but you would think that they were there, but they were never there.
Oh wow!
Never at that show.
Oh, so they kind of did it after the show.
Did the commentary afterwards.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which they kind of do a lot of that now, anyways.
Yeah, I guess they would. Not there present at the show. Be a long flight from California to Sweden just to MC a show in English.
Yeah.
Of course, when they did it there, it was in Swedish.
Yeah. JP, did you know him personally or?
Chris?
Yeah.
No, I did not. I seen him only on stage when they were honoring all the Mr. Olympia winners. Heard them sing once on the show. Never met him. I never talked to him. I was chauffeuring around a big publicist for a little while in Europe, and he told me that Chris had the same job like 10, 15 years before me, or for a little while. That's pretty much all we have in common. I was very amazed about his winning records. I mean, the guy won a ton of shows. I was not aware of that. I always thought he won Canada Olympia, and that was pretty much it. But the guy won a lot of shows.
Yeah.
And almost won the 1980 Olympia as well.
Right. Could have won.
Yeah. Did he not play second in the 1980?
He took second in 80. He took second in 81. He won in 82. And then he came back in 84 and didn't place as well. I think he finished ninth in the Olympia that year.
I mean, considering who won 80 and 81, he could easily be a three-time Olympia.
Right. If it would have been fair judging, he would have been.
Yeah, could be, absolutely. Yeah,
Fair judging? Did you just say that, Phil?
I did. I did.
I wanted to be sure, man.
I did say that. It might have been a slip of the tongue, but I was saying that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of those oxymorons there. Kind of, yeah. Like,
That's right.
So we also, who else did we lose? Dave Palumbo posted somebody, an NPC competitor, somebody that had been competed a while. What was his name? Somebody else passed away. I don't remember his name. Of course, in the sports world, John Madden died.
Right after the day after they, like the day after they did his thing on that Sunday at 2, or on Christmas at 2:00, they did the whole thing, like an hour and a half special on Fox about John Madden, the impact he made on football. And then like 2 days later, poor guy dies.
Yeah. Well, look at remember Ultimate Warrior when they inducted him in the Hall of Fame? He died like a few days later after that.
Yeah.
He had a heart attack.
Now he used to compete in the NPC, and I can't remember his real name, but he didn't do that well. He placed out of the top 10 in the heavyweight class.
You talking about the Ultimate Warrior?
Yes.
Yeah. He was actually trained by Rich Gaspari, because when I was watching a documentary on him, that what's the guy's name that owned the Gold's Gym
in Venice?
Yeah,
Ed Connors
introduced him to Rich Gaspari, and had Rich Gaspari work with him to get him ready for NPC Nationals.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I don't see the guys.
There was some news that the young physique athlete or bodybuilder shot his parents. That's what I saw this week.
Oh yeah, I just saw that this morning, JP.
Yeah, that was in New York, upstate New York.
New Jersey, yeah.
Low carb diet could cause that.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't a competitor though. I did some research on it, and I saw a couple shows on him, and and they were talking about roid rage and all this stuff like that. So
right.
That's always the easy pickings. Just go right to that. It's
right.
Is there such thing as roid rage?
Take the easy out. You know what I'm saying? So medically, it's so ridiculous. Like I said, I roll my eyes when I listen to my colleagues talk about it. It's like, it's like the adage, like, oh, when I drink tequila, I become an asshole and I want to fight. No, you always were that. It's just drinking didn't make that happen to you. Same difference with the anabolic steroid. And it was funny with the whole anabolic steroids becoming controlled substances. It was funny after Ben Johnson got busted. That's when it really got into the mainstream. And it's funny when they were at Congress, the AMA, the DEA, and the FDA all fought Congress to not allow steroids to be a controlled substance. Congress overrode all of them and made it a controlled substance. And the only reason they made it a controlled substance was because they wanted to not have it be exposed to the youth. It's funny, like when I write my prescriptions, Xanax, Ativan, Valium are a lesser controlled substance than testosterone.
Wow.
You guys know that Ben Johnson was a personal friend of mine, right?
Right. You said that.
Yeah, and so myself and Charlie Francis were the main witnesses at the trial, man. It wasn't even a trial, it was just an inquiry. But yeah, he was a really nice guy. Ben Johnson was a great guy. I remember that
He was
whole
the scapegoat. He was the absolute scapegoat.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt because we all knew Carl Lewis and everybody else were using him too.
Well, it was funny. If you look at the research study, every single person that ran in the '88 Olympic finals, every single one of their specimens were positive.
I know.
Ben Johnson took the fall.
It was such politics, man.
100%. 100%.
Well,
Crazy.
What did they get? What did they get Lance Armstrong for that they had to come back and test his stuff later? Do you remember that?
I don't remember which
He was
drug.
boxing,
The
man. He
biggest
was
thing with cycling was EPO, the EPO.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
EPO was one.
Mhm.
That's undetectable, correct?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's made in the kidneys. What happens when your body figures out less partial pressure of oxygen, it's going to release erythropoietin, which is then stimulate the bone marrow to start making more red blood cells.
Gosh. Let me ask
But
you.
yeah,
this.
so that was the biggest thing. The more blood cells you have, obviously,
Sure.
from an endurance perspective, now you have
Absolutely.
more hemoglobin, more oxygen carrying capacity, which is going to boost performance from that perspective.
But they coupled that with a lot of the blood doping too, and that's
Exactly.
what that made a big difference for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
But I know some of the guys in the biking world. I was actually training a triathlete that was when Lance Armstrong became a triathlete. He came here to Haines City, and won that big triathlon here. And a friend of mine, Max Creop, placed second. And then when all that stuff happened with Lance, and Max ended up, he was a guy kind of helped out a little bit, and Max ended up winning it, but in default because Lance got caught. But this was after the fact. So, what happened from when he retired to why he got caught, I think there was a lot of politics involved with that, but I think that Lance rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And
There you go. Right. You
Really
said it
bad.
perfectly. He turned out, his story, if he would have kept his mouth shut, he
Yep.
had a great story. Literally, he had, not only did he have testicular cancer, he had brain cancer. He had it all spread through his lungs. What a phenomenal story. What a phenomenal comeback.
Absolutely.
Whether you took it or you didn't take it,
Exactly.
who cares? But he turned out to be the most arrogant asshole. And so then people said, you know what? Now we don't like you, and now we're going to expose you. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, they made it a point to go after him.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
They made it a point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
Exactly.
In combination with being an American in a very European-dominated sport, but he was definitely an asshole. And I remember when they caught the massage therapist with a whole can full of growth hormones getting into France 3 months before the Tour de France. No, that was Festina. Sorry, that was another team. But that's when they started to test athletes off the streets in Europe. That was the year the Olympia was supposed to be in Paris in 1998. But then the IFBB decided, with all the trouble in Europe, people being arrested off the streets and questions about steroids, that they might not think it's a good idea to bring the Olympia back to Europe. And they then went to New York and then later to Vegas.
Mhm.
So I remember the Festina team was arrested in the middle of a stage at the Tour de France, and everybody was questioned, and everybody talked other than Richard Virenque, the mountain king. That was right when everything started turning in Europe. Even now, I have athletes in Europe. They can't compete in their own countries. I had a young Belgian athlete. He was actually a member of a SWAT team, but he was arrested anyway. So they went to his house. They found some testosterone. They questioned him, asked if he took any substances. If not, they were going to bring him to the hospital. He admitted to it. He got 3 months ban from his job, 5,000 euro fine. And the third one is very, very funny. 1 or 2 year ban from any membership in any public gym in Belgium.
Oh, wow. That's pretty harsh.
Well, that's the hardest one right there, man.
Yeah.
My Norwegian athletes want no part of competing in Europe. In Norway, they're gonna go rather to Germany or Denmark. So it kind of all started with that arrest of that massage therapist of the team Festina, the bicycling team, with growth hormones at the border.
Wow.
So Yep.
Hey, did it say that Cedric MacMillan's doing Arnold?
Yes.
Didn't we talk about that? Did you guys see that interview he just did? Where
No.
he talked about his heart condition and stuff. You know, his doctor told him that his heart was only working at 10% when he had his problems. And that's my question is, do you think he should retire?
How old is he?
I think he's 41 or 42.
Oh gosh, and he's having that problem. I mean, it's kind of logical right there.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, don't quote me on his age, but I know he's at least 40. And
what is the regular heart capacity of a guy his age? I'm not sure.
Your percentage, so it's called the ejection fraction. So it's the percentage of blood that's expelled with every beat. Usually you're looking somewhere between 50 to 70%. Average is going to be between 55 and 65%. So when we start talking to like congestive heart failure or the heart not doing well, we start looking at percentages. Once you're under 30%, we're looking at true what's called big time cardiomyopathy, and you're looking at transplant at that point in time.
It is one of the reasons I retired. In a test, I think I ended up at 42%. And those doctors scared the living hell out of me. I even did some therapy after that, but that was the last straw for me to retire.
Yeah.
What's interesting
Doc, if you were Cedric's doctor, what would you tell him?
I definitely would. So I'm going to kind of put a little bit of spin on congestive heart failure because we tend to treat it not as efficiently as we should in America. We do a lot of other things, to kind of counteract it. But if you remember, congestive heart failure is nothing more than an energy deprived heart. You see what I'm saying? So what we need to do is we need to supply those ventricles in the heart with more energy. Well, you've heard me talk on the show, the protocol as far as D-ribose, L-carnitine, taurine, magnesium, and CoQ10, that's going to supply energy. Massive doses of that combination will help supply energy. Another thing that I actually give a lot of my cardiac patients is low dose T3 or liothyronine. Remember, the heart muscle is the only cell in the body that can't convert the inactive T4 into T3. Okay. So the heart needs the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3 for good, what's called diastolic functioning. So I'll put my cardiac patients on just free T3 alone, or liothyronine, to help with cardiac functioning. You'll actually see these patients in congestive heart failure begin to get better because what are you doing? You're supplying the heart with more energy so it can work more efficiently.
Hey, Doc,
go ahead.
Do you also supply them with some type of knowledge or advice on quality eating in order to help counteract a lot of that too?
100%, yes. And again, and Jason, like I said, Jason's been gracious of allowing me to take care of him and bring me on. Like one of the things I'm always looking at as well is, blood viscosity, blood thickness, just blood particle, all these other different matters, because the fact is again, the heart's a muscle, it has to work harder. But unlike our biceps, triceps, quads, the heart will get bigger, but it doesn't necessarily get stronger. So it becomes stretched out over time. And that's where we've had these conversations on previous podcasts, is the fact that's where you're getting this congestive heart failure, because the heart is failing because basically it's pumping ketchup instead of water. You follow me?
Exactly.
And that's the scary thing with the heart. And Jason knows I'm just a stickler with it, is to remember, I'm the one who is always on these guys' butts about their heart, because remember, you're not going to know for all intents and purposes, is there anything wrong with your vascular system or your heart until there's something wrong. And once there's something wrong, it's too late. Here we are having podcasts on people who die because it's too late. You follow me? So.
That's funny. I just had my first blood work today, guys, in probably 25 years, man.
Wow.
Really? Wow.
Well, at least, yeah, I had to go. I had to go. I wanted to go. I felt fine. There's nothing wrong, but I said, it's been 25 years or so, so I went to have a blood test. You know what, Doc? I'm going to share it with you when I get it, by the way, man.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
I'd love you to critique it. Absolutely.
God, I couldn't imagine going that long. Since I've been with the doc, I'm like, I wait for the 6 months to get here. Sometimes I'm a little earlier. I want to get it done. I want to know.
Well, you know what, Big Nas, I've been finding that out lately, just from little things that are happening. And you know, I'm a pretty damn good clean eater in the first place, so I'm pretty aware of what's happening in my body. But I noticed there's some things that are just not right. I do know that I'm lacking certain minerals and vitamins and stuff in certain areas. You know, I take a lot of different things, but there's something that's missing. And I decided it was time to take a blood test because it's been so many damn years, man. So I just want to see what's going on, you know?
Yeah. How old are you, Steve?
60.
60. Okay, that's right. I remember you just turned 60. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. And when did you retire from bodybuilding?
Gosh, 1992. I'll never forget that, man. Way too early, man. I told you I should have. It was one of those things. Years later, I had that regret. I got out too soon, all because of Muhammad Ben Aziza. That was a big mistake on my part. But you know, in hindsight, I left a lot on the table. But I did what I had to do, man. But I missed the sport a lot, man. There's something happening now at my age where I'm just feeling a lot of passion to kind of not get to that level, obviously, but just I'm putting more time into myself and putting a lot more time into other people, helping them out now, man. It's kind of bringing back a lot of good feelings about doing that again, man. And it's funny how many people are needing this stuff right now, man.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've talked about it with everybody on this show. You know, again, everybody is so superficial and kind of, you know, like I said, you know, what's the true health? You know what I'm saying? Out there, there's all these coaches who are just kind of pumping people full of information, but their information isn't solid. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We've talked about this time and time again. Like I said, be able to have people who have solid knowledge. It's beautiful to pass it on. Like I said, you guys and your professional background and, you know, what you achieve, if you just keep it to yourself, then you're not doing anything to really expand the sport and expand that knowledge base. You know?
True. And even, you know, Doc, even with that said, if you take it to another level when it talks about giving people advice on health and fitness and all that stuff, and most of my clients right now are just your regular average person my age, young 50s and that need a lot of help. But, you know, I met with some of these people have told me about some diets I've been on before and even dealt with some dietitians. And they're telling me stuff the dietitians are giving them. And I'm shaking my head. Question, are you kidding me? These people have a degree and are telling you to eat this way. It does not make any sense. Now, you know, what we have, guys, is we have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of wisdom. We have a lot of trial and error. You know, and there's a lot of things about that brings a lot to the table with that, man. And people like that. And when they see somebody's in good shape and they can help you out, you know, you can't there's nothing better than that, man. And so you teach them a whole genre of all the wellness of when it comes to fitness, the exercise, the training, what that goes, how you train, the eating habits, the wellness that goes with that, just having a habit. When you're able to teach somebody that all along the lines, I mean, that's just something you can't give that away to anybody. We've had that for years, all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, the social media is slamming Dexter on because of his size that he's come down to. Y'all notice that? Have you seen any?
No.
Well,
No.
I went through the same 15 years ago. You know, I mean, it was one picture my sister posted. I did lose a lot of weight on purpose first. I really got into swimming and endurance sports. It's just the way I wanted it. And I remember I even dropped under 200 pounds for a short moment. It was totally against my nature, but I had a real fun swimming, and I swam up to 50 laps every morning. I remember when that picture came out, I was helping a girl to compete at the USA, and somebody took a picture in front of the auditorium, and the backlash was just incredible. I mean,
yeah,
I even hear it with Dorian quite often, and you know, that's just comes with the territory. So that's just, it didn't bother me one bit, to be honest, not one little bit.
But that's why you see what you do with social media. The fact that they do that, a lot of guys won't relax or come down or just do whatever they need to do. Take
Yeah.
a break, take time off, clean out. As soon as they do, poof, there you go.
Well, that's what.
And the guys that are talking this are the guys that have never trained,
Mhm.
seriously, never competed, most
I was just
likely.
gonna say that.
And it's like, it's not surprising.
You know who comes to mind when you say that? Rich Piana. He
Yeah,
kept,
Right.
you know, his size is what sold his product.
sure.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
ultimately it killed him.
Yeah.
Sad.
I think I lost one client all over the years because I wasn't big anymore. So that just makes me smile. So that's just too ridiculous. I mean, I know one guy didn't show up for his first appointment and then was talking around that once he saw me in the gym, he was too disappointed in my size. So that's just beyond ridiculous. And I mean, look, Nasser, for example, he tried to stay big. I mean, I'm not going to say that's why he died, but I'm sure it didn't help. You know?
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys see there was a post on Instagram about Ronnie Coleman going back up to 285 in
I saw
bodybuilding
that. I saw
and
that.
training 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm thinking, I don't know to believe that or not. But you got to
No.
be kidding. Yeah.
I don't think so. And you
Yeah.
know, you brought up Dorian. When we interviewed Dorian on here, he said the same thing. He was like, you know, people would say stuff to him, and he's 60 now. I think he's 60.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, why would I want to walk around at 300 pounds at 60 years old?
Right.
You know,
Right.
What do you have? Nothing. Everybody's
He's
champion
proved
here,
himself.
and
You
what
know?
do you have to
Yeah,
prove?
there's
I
nothing
mean,
to
my
prove.
point is,
Yeah.
when I was playing professional football, I was 275 pounds, eating 7,000 calories a day, doing 2-a-day training. Why am I going to do that now at 46 years old? I have no desire to do that. I don't. Yeah, like you said. I mean, I walk around at 200 pounds now. I can't imagine walking around carrying 275 pounds. Holy hell! I wear my backpack. I'm like, this is heavy. I got to put it down. So. Again, your demand on the body changes. So again, when you're professional and you're competing, then you're pushing your body to an extreme. Well, when you're not, it doesn't mean, then you need to let off the gas, come down a couple gears. You don't need to be on 5th gear all the time because it doesn't work. And look at the conversations we've had this year with the people who are dying, who have not taken the time to invest in their health and just keep full throttle. You know what I'm saying? That's the scary thing.
Well, see, the fans seem to think that we used to carry this shape and this size all the time, even later after we retire or whatever. And they don't understand, even in the off season. I mean, you're going to be heavier, but it's going to be soft and full and everything. It's a complete different, scene. But a lot of these people don't understand what we put into this. They don't realize how hard it is until they get into it themselves. And there's, then they find out, wow, okay, I get it now. But that's far and few between, man.
Yeah.
I do have tremendous respect if there's a few guys, if they decide otherwise, I want to stay big, if they can do it in mostly natural way. There's like Tony Pearson, John DeFendis. I mean, I admire that tremendously. If somebody keeps that, Robbie Robinson, if somebody keeps that drive up and if they can do it in a healthy way, it's just not something I would ever do for myself. It's
Yeah. Well, like we've talked about on the show before, is like with social media now, they can't hide like they used to. When the end of the season, before social media, you guys could go off and put on some weight and stuff like that. And you didn't have to worry about getting criticism or anything like that.
When you wear these big sweatshirts.
And then you guys said that you would use old photos from your last photo shoot before.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah, they would use those photos year round, so that made a whole difference. You didn't have to do that once a year when you're in shape, and they use the photos year round.
Yep.
And that took care of it.
Yeah.
Jason, I wouldn't say I was never criticized for my weight gains. I remember I was guest posing at the German championship. And there was a year I went really high up with my weight. Looking back, maybe a little bit too high up. So this was the German championship. It's the day Markus Ruhl won the German championship in the heavyweight. I guess posed with about 330 pounds. So Albert Busek, who was president of the European IFBB or German Federation, he was not happy. So I would say half of the people, they thought I'm the greatest thing they've ever seen, and the other half maybe not so much. So he took the microphone and said, to the German people, you guys just experienced the death of bodybuilding.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
What year was that, JP?
It must be 97,
97. Okay.
Good golly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's crazy.
yeah.
Well, I remember guest posing in Europe, and if you weren't in shape, you would never get invited back again.
That's true.
Yeah.
Remember that?
But
Yep.
when I look at the footage now, you know, and I had a lot of water, absolutely, but I was not fat in a like fat sense, you know. It was there was no fat weight in my lower back or anything like that. It was just very, very watery. And I know of a lot of guys who just took a lot of diuretics for the gas posings. I would never ever have done that, you know. So that's what I was famous for, being very, very big. And if you don't want to invite me back, that's it. That's fine. But there was the one time in Germany where they were not happy. It was also at the time when Germany tried to change the way bodybuilding went. The overall was not going to Marcus Rule. The overall was going to like a lighter middleweight. Remember, the people were freaking out. You know, they don't understand what's going on. Marcus, as we all know, was very, very good in his early years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He was
So
a monster.
it did happen to us too occasionally, but you know.
Is there any guest posing going on now in Europe?
The shows I attend, there's none. Well, actually, we had a guy going up on stage and doing a few poses. He placed, I think, 8 at the Classic, an Austrian guy, very, very good athlete. He placed 8 at Olympia in Classic. I can't come up with his name right now. But guest posing is like we used to, where, you know, we had up to 5, 6 guest poses sometimes. In Switzerland at the bigger shows. No, that doesn't exist anymore. You know, or I don't know if they're, when it comes to seminar tours going from gym to gym, it's probably, you know, back then the gyms were all owned by older bodybuilders or fitness enthusiasts, not by, there was no gym chains in that sense. I remember Tom Platz had done like 60 seminars in 120 days, you know, $3,000 a piece in Europe.
Yeah.
That's possible anymore, you know.
That's over.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, let me ask you this. I haven't been to Europe for a while. Now, I remember everybody, well, most of the gyms there were, you had gym owners. So now you have corporate gym chains now. I didn't know that.
When I was moving to Zurich, late in my career, I could not even get a membership in most gyms. They were using every excuse in the book to get me out of there, you know. So there were 1 or 2 gyms, and then if you were allowed to go to a gym, no tank top wasn't allowed, or there was a small area set in a corner, you know, or in a different room where bodybuilders could train. And I used to tell them in Europe, I said, hey, in the United States, everybody trains together. You know, there's an old lady, there's a professional bodybuilder, they're all on the same floor. And they used to look at me like, how is that possible? More and more gyms at that time took the dumbbells out. They're going back in now. Or just went up to 50 pounds or so at the most. So there were a lot of
Wow.
One gym I remember I went to, Kieser training system. You had a light between every machine. So when the light went off, you had to go to the next machine. So there was nobody in the line. So I decided to do a second set and was thrown out immediately, you know. By the
that sounds like the birth of Planet Fitness.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
We had this one in Zug for very wealthy people. You had to swipe your card on every machine, so the adjustment changed depending on your size. The machine was very awkward. You couldn't use it, and there was no fluid motion. And I asked the gym owner if he can turn that off in some way that I can just train, and he's like, "No, that has to stay," you know.
Now the Planet Fitness had the no grunt zone, right?
Yeah.
No grunt.
Supposedly, yeah. And I guess that means fart. You couldn't fart either.
Yeah.
That could be as far as a grunt. So.
But for the most part, the United States is still pretty cool when it comes to training, you know, compared to Europe. So.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing.
That's crazy. 2 new shows added next year. I mean to change the subject. Boston Pro and Dubai Pro, is that right?
I didn't understand that.
Did you hear me?
No, what did you say?
I said 2 new shows next year, Dubai Pro and Boston Pro.
Oh, I have no
I
idea.
saw the Dubois Pro advertised.
Yeah, I think the Boston Pro too is the 2 new shows.
Now, how many pro shows are there a year now in bodybuilding?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Pro shows.
I can look.
Yeah.
I pulled up the. You want to know how many pro shows there were? There's too many to count.
Wow.
Yeah, there's.
Now, let me ask you this. Has the prize money gone up since the 80s as far as the pro shows go? Any of these pro shows? The average pro show pay about 10 grand for the first place winner?
That's still the same, except the Olympia and the Arnolds went up a bit.
Let me show you
Still
what
the same.
I pulled up here.
So why did they take the women's physique out of the Arnolds?
I don't know, but you've got all different categories. So you got the men's open, all the men's open show, and I counted like 25.
Oh,
And then of course you have a variety of stuff. And then you have just two, pro shows that are just 212s.
Couple shows a month, man.
And then you have
Good.
men's physique. Then you have classic physique, and then of course you got bikini shows that are by themselves. I mean, there's hundreds here, Phil.
Oh
I
my
see
God.
that. Yeah.
And they go all the way from Texas, Canada, Puerto Rico, Portugal,
Global.
Korea, Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be
Yeah,
sitting
they're
here
global.
counting all day. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
You
So how many, when it comes to the Olympia, then that means you could have 50 guys at the Mr. Olympia.
Well, you have to win a show.
Is there a cap? There's no cap.
Not that I know of. If you qualify, you can go.
Yeah.
Do you remember that, there were 3 pretty much cornerstones in our time? It was the Night of Champions, there was the Arnold's Classic, and
Sure.
then the Olympia. And all the pro shows were a week before or a week after.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
could be certain, if you wanted to do the shows around the 3 big shows, that the people who won the big show were on that show too.
Right.
So I was criticized recently for not having won a pro show. I placed second, I placed fourth, So I was listing the winners of the shows I competed in. And Levroni and Yates won pretty much 75% of the shows I competed in, and the other 25% were won by Nasser and Flex.
Yeah.
So I pretty much had one shot really to one easier show I did in my whole life, and that was won by I was showing up in very bad shape, Jablonitsky and Milos, but that was my only shot I really had to not having a top 5 athlete at my shows.
Mhm.
So it was very, very different, to win shows in those days.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Different times. So before we go, if you guys, I got some questions. We actually had a lot of questions that got posted, so I just kind of filtered through them and picked out some of the good ones. And obviously most of these are going to be probably for the doc, but the first one is, does coffee affect bodybuilding and dieting?
Yeah. Well,
It's
I'm
good
gonna
for
leave
it, man.
short. I'm gonna leave it short because I'm gonna leave it to the pro guys to answer
Okay.
that. So physiologically, yeah, I mean, and again, I'm gonna break it down. I always got to bring some new twist to it and confuse the whole game. You have to understand from a genetic perspective: do you metabolize caffeine slowly or do you metabolize caffeine quickly? If you don't know what you're doing, from a perspective of metabolizing it well, it's going to work different in the body. If you're a slow metabolizer to caffeine, it negatively affects the cardiovascular system, but it's going to help induce weight loss because what is a stimulant? If you metabolize caffeine very quickly, well, it's going to go through the system quickly. You're not going to have that sympathetic state long enough, so it's not really going to help. You follow me? So that's just from a cardiac and physiology perspective. Now I'll turn it over to the guys and talk about from a practical and competing perspective.
No, touche, Doc. There's no doubt what you just said right there, physiologically, and the reason because of the metabolites and caffeine, the way they react to the body. But it's all in perspective to your own body.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I had 1 cup of coffee and I was good to go. If I had any more than that, you'd have to bring me to the hospital, man. I couldn't handle too much caffeine. But 1 cup of coffee and I was good in the morning, man, to train. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I used to use it as an appetite suppressant.
Yeah.
Which suppressed my appetite. worked well. Maybe 3 or 4 cups throughout the day. On a low carb diet, you needed that stimulant.
Yeah.
You know.
What about you, JP? So if I'm on
Well,
prep for a show, would you let me have coffee?
Oh, absolutely, yes. But I have this discussion with my younger clients all the time, because what my younger clients, they have so many stimulants they use for just to work out.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to get them off, but I always tell them back then, if we did something to stimulate, it was coffee, coffee before out. And it's kind of sad that those guys have to take those monster shakes and pre-workout shakes,
Mm-hmm.
So I love coffee, and I drink a little bit too much in the evening because I don't want to go to sleep at 6. I do not drink during the day, and it's something I can stay away from, even if it's not great or not. I love coffee.
I got a question for the doc.
Yes, sir.
Now, along with coffee back in the 70s and 80s, I used to take ephedrine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was the reason they took that went away? The true reason?
Well, the ephedra was your bronchodilator, so it sped you up. So what happened is the whole point was you took what was pretty interesting in the whole, so the ECA stack, right? So you put ephedra, caffeine, and aspirin, right?
Absolutely.
So what you did,
yes,
your ephedra was a bronchodilator, increases diameter, blood volume. You took the caffeine as your stimulant. Why did you do the aspirin? Because the prostaglandins in the aspirin cause the caffeine to last longer in the system. So there's your ECA stack, and that's how you would lose weight. They synergistically, each one of them worked, obviously not aspirin to lose weight, but you put those together, you had a great combination. This is going to open up, this is going to stimulate, and this is going to keep the stimulus around longer.
Hey, Doc, were you back in the college days where ephedra was really big with college students, and they would be able to go out and drink all night long? That was huge, man. And the reason I remember that is because I was involved with one of the biggest lawsuits back in the day for ephedra, and of course, ephedra was taken off the market. Now you can still get it, but you have to pay a major premium for insurance to put it in a product, so nobody uses it anymore. And there's really nothing wrong with ephedra, and which is known as mahuang. There's absolutely, it's a really powerful aphrodisiac in terms of the root and the herb that it's made from.
Correct.
And tried a lot for cardiovascular problems, but it's really a good product if you use it right. But if you
overdose on it, there lies our problem. No one can ever use anything like
who uses it right.
We gotta go way overboard, and then there we go, and they're in line. And then what happens? They all come to me because they're having chest pain or they're in some lethal rhythm, and it's like, Jesus, guys. No, because actually, what's funny is I can, my compounding pharmacy compounds ECA stacks. I prescribe ECA stacks to my patients, but I keep them on for 3 months, but then they have to come off for a month. I make them come off. Nobody stays on stimulants more than 90 days.
Yeah. You guys remember Up Your Gas, right? Back in the day?
Yes, I do.
Up Your Gas was the #1 selling ephedrine product in America at the time, which was my ex-father-in-law's company.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a big lawsuit against him, over $2 million, if I'm not mistaken. And the lady that sued him, this was a bunch of lawsuits going all around the States at the time, and she sued him. She had these big, powerful lawyers in New York. Her husband even came on as a witness and said, this lady's a drug addict. She does cocaine. She's an alcoholic. And of course, she still won her case because she was taking Up Your Gas ephedra.
Yeah.
Wow.
So imagine that.
Wow.
And everybody just got on the bandwagon from there.
Yep. Well, you remember back in the day in the malls, the Metabolite, I think it was called.
Herbalife, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They were huge after that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Xanadrin or something like that?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another one.
I used to do that. I started with clenbuterol usually in my preps, and then went into after a few weeks I started to switch to that aspirin, caffeine, ephedrine mix, and I absolutely loved it. But I remember when I was much younger, the valley I grew up in, there was absolutely you couldn't have gotten any steroids if you wanted to. So my first form of doping when I was very, very young, I used to go to the pharmacy, buy an ephedra pill and 2 bottles of oxygen. So we used to sit down together, my buddy and I, an hour before the gym, and slowly inhale that oxygen bottle, then take an ephedrine, go to the gym.
I've heard of, that's a new one to me, JT.
I love it. I love it.
That's awesome.
My second form of doping. When I was playing soccer, we had a kid in our team who was son of a doctor. So I asked him, I said, hey, there must be something laying around in your father's office that we can speed up that team a little bit. Yeah? So we were about 14 and he brought a protein bar. Never seen anything like it. So the whole team was around the protein bar and we cut it in about 7-8 pieces. You know? So we all took a piece of that protein bar and beat the other team 7-0.
Nice. Nice. I'd like to you find out what was in that protein bar.
That's good. That's good protein.
Yeah, something good in there. Let's see here. Next question. Do you have to change your workout based on your genetics? And I'm assuming this is kind of like if you're an obese, would you lift heavy? If you're skinny, that's what kind of I'm getting at from this question.
Actually, it's pretty funny. I run genetics in my office, and I actually did what's called a methylation wellness type of genetic test. And one of the things it brings back is your tolerance for exercise. So I had a patient today who actually, her body type genetic wise doesn't do well with exercise. Like, let's say, for example, like, hey, I did a set of bicep curls, right? And then if she gets a drink of water, chit chats with a trainer, and then doesn't do another set for, let's say, a minute and a half, her body actually doesn't tolerate that type of exercise well. Her body, but genetic makeup actually does better at a more high intensity, keeping her workout between 30 to 45 minutes on top of keeping her target heart rate constantly at over 70%,
keeping it up,
and then burning and going through. So her body actually does that workout more efficiently compared to the other. That's where, like I said, this is what's phenomenal to me as a science, because now all this, like I said, that's what I love about all you guys is like, we weren't that far off, but man, if we knew what I knew now, what I could teach, it's amazing. Like I said, I literally, like myself right now, and Jason knows this, with my schedule being so busy, I work out probably less than an hour a week. I eat less than 1,200 calories a day, and it's just pretty amazing to the fact that if you see what I look like, my body is run solely on IV biochemistry and physiology. But all the old stuff of eating and training, I literally do 4% of what I used to do.
Wow.
Crazy.
You got a lot to relearn.
Right.
To your question, the question of that question you had, I'm very, very always split when I start with somebody. What kind of workouts do I recommend for the guy? So, or the woman. So if they have the chance to come to Palm Springs and train with me for a few days, this gives me usually a better idea. But what I do make a difference of is, as you guys know, I trained with this kind of a mix of a heavy duty kind of and low, high intensity, low set. I only did 6-7 sets, mostly, or 8 for a big body part and 4 to 6 for a smaller body part. But I used an immense amount of weight and could do it always did it in a very good form. So I always look, how intense is somebody able to work out? Most people are not near the intensity I put in. So if that's the case, although everybody thinks they work hard, most people do not, then I recommend more higher volume workout, where people who are able to really, really put everything into a set, but really, like you guys maybe heard the Dorian theory with the baby. I don't know if you guys heard that. When the journalist from England asked Dorian, said, look, you claim here you train hard, you train harder than anybody else. Everybody says that. How can you say you work harder? So Dorian looked at him. That was in his gym in Tenerife. He said, okay, you're going to go to the hacksmith now and do a set. Did you not just have a baby? He says, yes, we have a 3-month-old baby. You know, he said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. You're going to start your set, and I'm going to put a gun on your baby's head. And if you leave any repetition out there, just a half repetition, I shoot your baby in the head. That's how hard I train every set.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a crazy analogy.
Yeah. What'd you say, Phil? Knocking on death's door, right?
Yeah,
Knocking
exactly.
on death's door.
That's doorstep.
That's right. Death's doorstep.
Most people cannot go near, know that. And then I recommend a more high volume, and with others I recommend a lower volume. That's kind of the differentiations I make, without having any scientific backup to that,
I think it's safe to say, you guys, through the training we've done over the years, that no matter how many people we bring to a place where they are satisfied and they love what we do, you can't get to where we were. You can't train the way we did, because it's our intensity to become what we became, the best of the best, is by far some of the most intense training in the world. We know that.
You will never, ever, in my opinion, this is anecdotal. You take my era, your guys' era, 90s to, let's say, like the early 2000s. And even before then, in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, 90s, and let's go up to maybe like 2005. You will never find any group of athletes, be it NFL players, bodybuilders, whatever, who strive to be the best and will do anything to be the best. I don't believe now the competitor, for all intents and purposes, has that drive. Few and far between do. And it's like, like for myself as a pro athlete and a doctor, I sacrificed everything I did, marriages, friendships, all of it, to be the best. And I still, to this day, Jason knows, I'm traveled the country. I'm still doing education. I'm still doing, because I have to be the best at what I do. When I come onto these shows that I think it's a privilege to be on, I want to make sure I am the best. I am the authoritative figure, and I will not stop. And that's still my mentality today. And that's why, from an athletic perspective, or even a business perspective, I'm not going to get beat, because you're not going to put the effort. That's, when people are quit at 8:30 or 9, I'm not quitting until midnight,
Touché.
So.
Absolutely, Doc. Touche. No doubt.
Yeah. Here, I'll ask one more here, and then we'll cut it. How many types of testosterone are there, and what is the best one to take?
Great way to end it off.
I just ask him. This is
That's a good way to end it off, though, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, testosterone as far as physiology in the body. It is what it is there. If we're looking, even from let's say this, because I have compounding pharmacies that I use that I blend testosterone together. I'll tell you from a physiologic perspective, and the safest is you want to have testosterone that is going to be released in the body as close to the way that you used to do it. Remember, God didn't give us all our testosterone on Sunday for the whole week. We release testosterone 4 to 7 times every single day. So one of the biggest hormones that I use testosterone wise in my practice is I use a bi-blend of propionate and cypionate mixed together. So they're getting that little bit of a boost, and then they're getting their cypionate in. And like I said, it's a nice even, and what I'll have them do is either they'll usually inject I'll have it anywhere between 2 to 3 to 4 times a week at a maybe like 50 milligrams, 3 to 4 times a week. So this way they're getting a constant flow of testosterone instead of that one big, even though it might not be a lot compared to what we're used to, but even taking 200 milligrams of testosterone at one time is still a super physiological rush. But if you give that 40, 50 to 60, 3 to 4 times a week, now it's ebb and flow. And what happens when you do that, you have less side effects because your body knows how to, assimilate it and work it properly.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Doc. Sustanon 250, something like that, for example, would be almost the same thing, right?
Ideally 100%. Like, yeah,
Okay.
and on the streets, testosterone's great. You do, because again, you got 4 different blends of testosterone. Myself, what I've learned, again, dealing with patients, like our blend of testosterone, we do 20 milligrams of propionate and 200 milligrams of cypionate in 1 milliliter. And again, what I've seen, and you guys know this, if you go up higher on the propionate, especially with patients, they don't understand, it does knot them up. And then they're like, I've made a tri blend where we had a nanthate, cypionate and propionate, but the propionate was at 40, and it just beat my patients up because it was just too much. And they don't know what it's like. I got this big knot on my butt, or I got this knot on my shoulder, so it wasn't worth it. But that 20 milligrams with the mixture of the cypionate, and then also too, we mix ours with grapeseed oil instead of like the cottonseed. So grapeseed oil is hypoallergenic. It's much smoother. You can actually push it through a 27 gauge 1/2 inch needle, 25 gauge. You don't have to use a 23 or a 22. So that's pretty nice.
Okay. Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, very
cool. Well, that's all I got as far as questions. As far as topics.
So I was telling Jason beforehand, maybe one day when I get all this squared away. So, I have my practice. I just moved in my new building and just opened another practice in Jacksonville. But now I have enough ability and got to kind of do something that I want to do and have some fun. So in the next, I think it's probably about 1.5 to 2 months, I actually bought another building. So I'm putting in a private personal training studio as well as my own private gym, and it's invitation only. So if I get this all set up and we can kind of somehow, and I'll figure out what I need to do, but what we got to do this year, I'll set it up. I'll get all you guys out to my gym, and we'll do the show from my private gym.
Hey,
Awesome.
count me in, man.
Hey, buddy, how far a drive is that from Ventura?
It's only one day.
No,
Yeah, just a few hours.
it's 3. More like 3 days.
Yeah. Well, you gotta do it. You gotta time it right. So
there you go.
Daytona has a pro show now, so you guys need to come out to the Daytona Pro.
Oh, I have no problem flying to Florida anytime.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but you'll have to do it. Once I get it all set up, I think it's a real treat. It's one of the things I don't have to stress about because I got good people working it for me. I think it's going to really be a nice place to just come and chill out. To be a good place to hang out.
Maybe I can combine it with some medical tests.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll do it. I'll get it set up. But like I said, it should be set up, like I said, first quarter of the year, and then we'll figure something out sometime this year. I'll get all you guys out here, and we'll do the show from there.
Sounds cool.
Well, listen, guys, I want to tell you that tomorrow I'm going to have this awesome Oliva cigar from Nicaragua for the New Year in celebration of all of us, man. Happy New Year to all you guys.
Same to you guys. Happy New Year.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Yeah, happy New Year,
Appreciate
guys.
your time and your invite, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you all for coming on the show every week, and we all have busy schedules and crazy stuff going on in our lives. So
Absolutely, man.
I thank all
Been
you.
a pleasure again, gentlemen.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Thank you so
Have
much.
a great night.
All right.
Happy
Happy New Year.
all.
All
Happy
right.
New Year's.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.